to talk a little bit tonight about this precious human birth, or understanding impermanence and why that matters. Impermanence is one of the foundations of Buddhist thinking, and it accepts that existence and everything around us is in flux and is constantly changing. The word for impermanence in Sanskrit is anicca. In Pali, which was the language that the Buddhist texts were written in, it's anicca, but it's A-N-I-C-C-A. In Sanskrit, it's A-N-I-T-Y-A. And nicca means substantiality, and means no. So basically, the idea is that there is no substantial existence. There is nothing in this world that is substantial and unchanging. If you think about it in terms of our own lives, most of us don't really love to do the things that we did when we were 13, hopefully. And we have changed. The 300 trillion cells, or however many trillion cells there are in our body, have changed over time. Everything is constantly changing. In Buddhism, there's a belief that there are 5 processes that every human and every sentient being, for that matter, undergoes. 1 is the process of change. 2 is the development of illnesses or dis-ease. 3 is the decay of things that are perishable, like growing old. 4 is the passing away of that which is liable to pass. And 5 is death. So the Buddha told his followers, quote, "Decay is inherent in all component things. And since who we are is a composite of causes and conditions, we too are subject to decay and passing away." So why do I want to talk about such a morbid topic? Well, today I had a biopsy for some lumps and bumps that the doctors found in my left breast. And while I was waiting for my friend Mashid to take me to Queen's Hospital to have the procedure, I got a call from her ex-husband, who's a good friend of mine, who said that she might be late because their nephew had just fallen from a 10-story building in Israel and died. And all of a sudden, my little procedure became real manini. And it was still something that gave me pause, but I put it into a different perspective. We don't really talk too openly about illness, and particularly illnesses that are possibly life-threatening, or the fact that life is so fragile. And that is a mantra that I'm keeping in my heart and mind right now, that life is so fragile. But according to one of the early Buddhist texts, life is like a river. It's a successive series of different moments joining together, giving the impression of one continuous flow. It moves from one point to another, like our lives move from one cause to another, from one effect to another. The river of yesterday is not the same as the river today. The river at this moment is not going to be the same as the river of the next moment. And just like the river, our lives are changing continuously, becoming something different from moment to moment. And our 3 trillion cells are constantly dying and replenishing, and our thoughts arise and they fall away. So impermanence and change are the undeniable truths of our existence. What is real in the present moment, and that passes just as we, what is real is the present moment, and that passes just as we think about it as being present. The Japanese have an expression, it's mono no aware, and the word aware looks like aware, and mono means thing, so aware of things if you want to translate it into what it doesn't mean, but it gets translated as beauty that's tinged with sadness. And it's an aesthetic that the Japanese love. But beauty tinged with sadness is not exactly what it means. It's a very Buddhistic term. It means a feeling of poignancy when one recognizes that an incredible moment, an exhilarating feeling, will soon pass. That it's ephemeral, it's momentary, it's transient. But there's a beauty in the understanding of that as well, if we're not attached to whatever is in that moment, that experience or that feeling. Impermanence is related to another idea in Buddhism, and that's the idea of attachment or craving or thirst that causes us so much pain and discomfort. When we believe that something will last forever, will always be there, and then it goes, or it dies, we're stunned, even though we know somewhere in our beings that this is the way of things. The Japanese, who understood impermanence quite well, had another sort of saying. It's almost an antidote to the other. It's called ichigo ichi-e. In this cryptic little statement, there's so much meaning, much more meaning than the economy of words sort of suppose. It means, if you translate it literally, it means one meeting, one chance. But what it means is that we only have this one time to be together. And if we only have this one time to be together, we should give it our best, that we should give 100%, that we should cherish the moment, this one chance, appreciating the present moment, and as Ram Dass used to say, being here now. So the wisdom of impermanence also has to do with equanimity. Equanimity is not a word that we use very often in our everyday language, but it's used quite often in Buddhist parlance. It means even-mindedness, and it's the way you hold the moment. It's how you experience what's going on. And a friend asked me this morning, aren't you scared about this biopsy? And I thought about it and I said, nope. I'm not willing to create fear in myself because it's either nothing or it could be breast cancer. And if it's nothing, what would be the reason to arise fear in myself? And if it's in the big C, what would be the wisdom of arising fear, even if it is? So as we begin to see that impermanence is something that we should understand, then we realize that there's nothing that we can actually be fearful of. There's nothing that we actually need to cling to, that we just have to let go. Ajahn Chah, who was one of the great forest monks and teachers in Thailand, said, quote, if you let go a little, you'll have a little peace. If you let go a lot, you'll have a lot of peace. If you let go completely, you'll have complete peace. Unquote. This complete peace is called Mahasukha, which means the great happiness, which is said to be the only happiness that is ultimately realistic.